All right, guys, today is a big day for here. It is tilling day, and I've got the tractor ready to go, and I'm going to explain a few things, rehash a few things. First off, I'm doing straight till. I am skipping several steps involved when it comes to trying to prep a food plot. There's many options available. You could spray this down, you could bush hog this down. I mean, there's several options there, but I am after the mat, which kind of imitates no-till. So I'm going to just do a straight till in here, and it will abuse your tiller. I mean, I've emphasized this before. I don't have money for all the proper equipment, and I'm just basically doing this on a 5-foot tiller. And you will get wraparound in your teeth. I still have some from last year. That'll go away, but you can see how wore down the teeth are. These are the original teeth when I bought this thing, about 9 years ago or so. And it's just been a very abused tiller, mainly because of these guys. My biomass in the past was nowhere as thick as it is now. So the first 3 years or so, it wasn't that hard on it. I mean, there wasn't hardly anything to chop up. So it just went through here very easily with no problem whatsoever. And as the years went by, it's going to put more and more of a strain on the equipment. Always make sure that you've got enough grease and oil in here to lube this thing properly to reduce any odds of stress on your equipment. Some people have actually caught these things on fire by doing straight till method. That depends on the strength of your tractor and your tiller. That has a lot to do with it, and how deep you're digging. So the deeper you dig, the more stress you put on a tiller, and this is one of the reasons I modified it. Less stress, and it's easier to till this down when you're skimming across the top. There's a couple of different ways you can adjust your tiller, and some of them involve the kickers down here. You can adjust the tiller on these, or you could say rockers. They've got little holes in them here you can adjust for, but I'm leaving that at factory setting. I'm just basically going to adjust with this lever here. That is all the way down to the ground. If I feel like it's too much, I can actually raise it up into where, you know, the tiller will be raised up to where I'm satisfied with it. I can run it that way. But when you do that, that also puts a little bit more stress on the bars here. But those are very strong bars. These are rated for nearly 2,000 pounds, and that tiller's nowhere near that. But like I said, this thing is old, it's beat up. So just be aware that prep is just as important before you just jump in here and start tilling it down. This tractor is not a big tractor by any means. It's a 38 horse tractor, but it gets the job done. And even though this is just my opinion, it is a Bobcat, not a normal John Deere, Mahindra, Kubota. The parts in here are very durable compared to some of the other tractors I've seen. Bobcat makes very tough industrial stuff, and they applied the same method to their tractors, but unfortunately there's no shock system on this thing, so that's a down effect. It will beat the daylights out of you sometimes. So real quickly, before I begin to till down the plot, I'm going to do one last walkthrough here, and we're going to see how several of these items turned out. And there is also additional tonnage that I'm missing out on. I could wait another week, but there's so much off and on chances of rain coming this week. I think that's perfect. Now, another new thing that I am doing this year, normally I do till down and planting day all in one cycle, but this year I'm going to try something a little different to see if I can save a little more money than maybe my other way of doing it. So what I intend to do is just focus on knocking this down today. and I'm going to let it set for 24 hours or longer, maybe 36 hours, because I have to go to work. So pushing 36 hours. That way the top layer will tell me how much kill off I've got in here. So if I've missed anything, that's no big deal, because I'm going to come back in here and plant afterwards, and I'll show you why. Now, there's many different ways to approach this. You can go ahead and stick your seed in here now if you want to, and then till down, or if you want to, if you got a no-till drill, obviously drill now, crimp later. I mean, there's different ways to approach it. So what I'm doing is not necessarily the cleanest method to do, because of some of my limitations. So hopefully that will pan out. It has for the last 3 or 4 years, and I'm just going to keep going with it until I can get either additional equipment, maybe a little bit larger tractor to do a no-till system, but that's just down the road. So real quickly here, for those of you that went through my videos and you've seen where I do the pros and cons of different plants, you can see here that the winter peas are doing extremely well. That right there, I mean, if you unravel how it's winded up, this would be a 4-foot tall vine. This one here is taller than that. It's 4.5 feet. They are still growing taller. You can also see quite a few pods that's developed on these now. Some, I mean, they're not, none of the seed is viable. You can see how they're swelling up, but you can see definitely winter peas are still growing, so they will get taller than 4.5 feet. I would say easily 5 based on the way they're growing, and there's no slowing down in them right now. That one is very close to 5, very, very close. Also, I've got some other species in here, which is mainly my wheat plants that are developing slower. So you can see several of them on here with no heads yet. So that's additional tonnage that I am missing out on as far as gaining more rotting material. But that's okay. I think there's just so much standing stuff in here now that this will suffice, and I'll be very happy with this. Just so you know, I have broken a new record as far as, now from top to bottom of the food plot, I have averaged 6 feet in my cereal rye this year, from top to bottom. Even the new area, 6 feet or better. That is the first time in the history of this plot that I have managed to get that much consistent growth. So section 3, down at the bottom down here, every bit of 6 feet. This is section 2, obviously 6 feet plus, right? Taller than I am. Section 1 up here at the top did better than I anticipated, and it is also averaging 6 feet. And I'm willing to say that section 4, because of the extra fertilizer, is probably 6.5, but let's just say 6 feet across the board. And that is a fantastic sign that things are moving in the right direction, because I've achieved that 6 foot mark with half the fertilizer that I was putting in the past. So fantastic news. Actually way less than half. So far it's only 70 pounds versus 300 plus. So way better. And the crimson clover, let's go down here to a good patch of it. Some places didn't do as well, which is kind of indicative to what happened when the drought showed up, but you can still see some of it here. It needs to be thicker in these areas. I would like it to look like that. So I've got plenty of crimson that's over 2 feet tall in here. There's a spot or two that I found that probably would touch 3 feet tall. It's very, very close. So I love this. This is well above my knees now. Looking great. You can see the crimson under here. This is my experimental strip as it's under its first year of restoring. You can see there's gaps in here. This is where I had the cowpeas, and the cereal rye didn't have that good a germination rate here, but the crimson clover did. So that suggests that the seeds got better contact because they were smaller and able to get into crevices that the ride just couldn't make. But it looks beautiful. It kind of hurts to till this down when you see this much beauty in your food plots, but that's just part of it. You got to do it. So there we go. Section 3 looks great. A little bit of color drop off up here, but that's okay. This is going to be its first, or actually its second rotting mat. You can still see the previous rotting material here. So it's going to get another dose of it there. And then we'll go over here to section 4 real quick, and then we'll begin the tilling process. I hear all kinds of honeybees in here. Unfortunately, sorry bees, I'm going to make you angry. I do have 3 active hives now, and they are definitely getting with it. I would love to have free seed out of this crimson, but that also means there'll be other plants making seed that I don't want to. Sorry. So really thick here as we start approaching section 4. I mean, it's just like an oasis in here of waving grass. Beautiful crimson, turnips, brassicas. I mean, you name it, it's flowering out, and it's growing very, very well. So I got a lot to till here. This should make a fantastic mat. And raise it up a bit. So there you go. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful results. I've got pockets of weeds in here, but weeds are okay. Your plots don't have to be perfect. This is sure amazement. I mean, you can see crimson is just growing everywhere in here. If you removed this rye, you would see a carpet of crimson. I mean, it's just one layered thing after another. So you have turnips growing at different heights, cereal rye growing at different heights. I mean, that right there is probably, that's it. That might be 7 feet right there. It's very, very close. I mean, it's almost touching the top of that pole down there. It's definitely taller than expected, especially with after all the poor soil I had to deal with. But layered food plots, that's all this is. One layer you're going to find cereal rye on top. Next layer down will be your turnips. I mean, look at that. Look how tall that stuff's getting. Fantastic. So let's go back to the tractor here, and I'm going to start part 2 to this, and we're going to start tilling. So hang on for 2.